Oh, here we go. It's worked now.
Yeah,
Awesome.
there we go.
Awesome. Okay, take it away, Dan.
Cool. Let's go. Let's start my screen share. Just bear with. Is that now? No. Where's my charts? There we go. All right. Can we see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant. Let me move you out of the way a little bit. All right. So I won't get too much into this because this is literally me in the middle before my brother turned up, just marking up my charts, marking up my zones. Anybody wants me to go through this? This is 30-minute Renkos, which is basically 4-hour candles. And all I'm doing here is marking up potential areas of support and resistance, or areas where I expect price to go from. So that's 30-minute Renkos. And this is what it looks like on the 4-hour candles. Yeah, so you can see it kind of translates and pulls across quite well. Yeah. So for me, again, you'll see that I will trade anything and everything. Yeah. So whatever's going to feed me is what I'm going to eat with on that day. So we won't go through all of those. What I will do is just pick the major pairs. So in fact, first let's go to gold. Let's say USD. Gosh. All right. So gold 4-hour, yeah. So I look at my charts naked first. Naked charts, not me, obviously, two completely different things. But top-down analysis, you guys probably heard of that as it stands. But this is how I look at every chart. So I'm starting from the weekly. If I'm moving too fast, just give me a shout, yeah.
Okay.
So in the weekly, what I see straight away is this kind of ranging area. Yeah. Now, obviously, because it's a weekly market, because it's a weekly chart, within that weekly range, there are definitely opportunities to buy and sell because it's such a high time frame. But short term, I think we'd agree that the short term trend, we are on an uptrend on the weekly. Yeah. We've got previous weekly highs here that we would need to see taken, yeah. And when those are taken, I would expect to see, I would expect price from the area to start tracking back down, yeah. So on the weekly time frame on gold, what I see at the moment from where we are is to break through that high and sweep that liquidity there, and at that point then make a pullback to about this area, yeah. On the weekly chart. But to get involved, obviously we go down the time frames. Again, on the daily, still very much in an uptrend, having just taken out highs there. If you can see, there's always and this is regardless of what asset or what pair you're trading. But if you can see, we took out this swing high, yeah. And as soon as we took that swing high out, we had a pullback to continue. Yeah. So again, this concretes to me, and we're testing the area where that liquidity was swept, or that breaker structure was swept. So we'll test that, and then I think we'll fly up to break that weekly high over here at what's the mark on that? 2073. I think we'll take out that high there, and then we'll start pulling back. Again, I'm doing this with no indicators at the moment. Yeah. If I put my Renkos on the 30-minute, again, what I'm looking for is areas that price could react from, and look at that, how nicely these bricks have bounced off this line, which is the liquidity that was swept on the chart. Does that make sense? Does anybody need me to go over that, or is that cool? I can't see you because I've got my charts off. Yeah. So that.
Go over it, Dan, for the newbies, because we'll have other people who are going to tune in from the recordings.
Say that again. Sorry.
Maybe go over it just in case there's going to be some new people who jump on the recording.
Yeah. Sound okay. So just to track back slightly, take these off. what we're looking at here, let me remove these drawings. What we're looking at here, we know from the trend line, and this again is just like we know that we're on an uptrend. Yeah, we know that typically when price breaks structure or takes liquidity, it pulls back. Okay, so what we've if we use this area here as a very prominent swing high on the daily, this was a daily high from this time last year, in fact. Yeah. So what we would expect to do is we would expect price to run through that, which it does here. Yeah. So if we replay that, so we can see that price has broken through and swept that liquidity with a nice big wick. Yeah. What we would then expect to do is for price to start tracking backwards and retracing. And because we're on an uptrend, we would expect it to pull back to continue upwards. Yeah. So if we play this back, if we play this forward now, a couple of bars. So it's just swept the liquidity, swept the monies, taken the monies, people's stop losses were taken out. And then the very next day, there's a strong bearish candle. Yeah. So we've had a pullback. And now we've started again going up. Yeah. So this happens on every time frame. This is just a daily time frame at the moment. Again, we're on an uptrend in the daily, uptrend in the weekly, drop down to the 4 hour. And again, as you can quite clearly see, 4 hour trend is up. Yeah. So everything at the moment on the higher time frames for gold, to me, says we want to be looking for buys until we reach this weekly high here. Yeah. So I would be looking for buys until we reach that weekly high here, and then I would be looking for sells from that point, but now short-term buys. So how would we get in? Yeah. And this is where my indicators come in useful. Not that one. Yeah. Right. So I trade with the cloud, and at the moment, what we can see from the daily cloud is price is above the cloud. The orange line is above the blue line, which means we're going upwards, and the future is green and pointing upwards. Yeah, so that fits with our trend line. We expect gold to go upwards on the weekly time frame. Same with the daily time frame. Yeah, price is above the cloud, future is green, and the orange is above the blue line, so that fits. 4 hour tells a slightly different story, but overall, we're still above the price, above the cloud, and we're still pointing upwards. And it's the 4 hour areas where I personally would be looking for areas of interest. Yeah. So the areas of interest for me, and again, if anybody's got anything they want to add, just feel free to jump in. I would be looking at this zone. I'll tell you why in just a second. I would be looking in this area for 2 reasons. Firstly, we have, as you can see, a rally-based rally candle, a supply and demand candle, a G-money candle, yeah, for those of you in the know. But you would expect price to come down, tap into that and shoot up. So that's one reason. Second reason is it's an area where price consolidated before a strong move upwards, yeah, that eventually broke short-term structure of this high. And the third reason for me is it is a previous area of resistance where so price has tried to tap into it, hasn't broken it, and has reacted off it. Yeah, so for those 3 reasons, that's the first place I would be looking for an entry into gold. But I'm not a scalper, you guys are. So how can we work with that? Yeah, so I'd be looking to get in around that entry and then take gold all the way up to that weekly high, which is that black line. Okay, that's my first shot. The second shot for people, something called imbalance or fair value gap or price inefficiency. which I won't go into too much in detail. But there's an area here where, as you can see, from this wick to that wick, yeah, there's a gap in the body of this candle, which means there was insufficient selling pressure. Buying pressure was too high, so there's an inefficiency in the price action. At some point, price has to come back and fill that inefficiency, and basically they need to balance the books. Yeah, and that looks like it's happening now, doesn't it? So we didn't make a new high here. We made a lower high, and it looks like we're going to pull back either into this imbalance zone, and then you would expect, because the trend is upwards, you would expect buys, or into this supply and demand zone. That's on the 4 hour. Dropping down, can we get in sooner? Well, yes, we can. Okay. This is an area that people will be looking at for sure. Yeah, this BEC area. Yeah. We mark it. So that BEC here is, again, a brother engulfing candle. It is an area of consolidation before a massive impulse upwards. Yeah. And it falls in line with my 4 hour area of interest, which is my 4 hour rally-based rally. Yeah. I would then be looking at the cloud. Does the cloud agree? Well, yeah, it does. Now, you might be saying, well, the future's still green. Well, yes, it is. But you can see that the orange line has crossed underneath the blue line, which means that the trend in the short term has changed. So that would give me confidence to enter a sell from this point down to my areas there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. I enter on the 5 minute though, but that's a bit too long. So, but if I wanted a better return on that, I would be looking somewhere in this area for a sell down to my buy entry. Okay. So for me, I'd be looking at short-term sells for the longer-term buys on gold. All right. And what I'll do, if anybody wants it, is I'll drop a link to this chart in the Discord. Yeah. So you can see what I'm looking at. Just take a copy of that. Put it in the Discord. I'll put it under the trades. No, I won't. I'll put it in the live calls chat. Gold ideas. All right. So that's gold. Does that make sense? Anyone got any questions on that, or does anybody see anything different?
No, makes sense then.
Yeah. Awesome.
Like I say, I'm not here to teach. I'm not here to teach about the cloud. Just reading Amanda's message. Nice. Well done, Amanda. Yeah, so I'm not here to teach about the cloud. You know, that's not for me to do. If you've got any general questions on it, I'm happy to answer, because it's something that I've studied hard. I've studied probably the cloud harder than I studied for my law degree, if I'm being honest. And this pays better than my law degree. So there we go. It all works out well. Yeah. So that's what I'm looking at on gold anyway. I'm looking at short-term sell to buy on gold. Yeah. Any pairs, Mark, Amanda, Nikki? Any pairs? Or what did you say, Amanda? Euro pound? Sure, she said euro pound.
Yep, I did, yeah.
Not a pair that a lot of people trade, actually. Interestingly, not people that I know. Anyway, right. We turn the cloud off. So again, we're starting from the top down. This is how I do it every time. Yeah, maybe I don't check the weekly every day, obviously, because you know the weekly doesn't change like that, and I don't check the monthlies every week, for example. You know, I mean, you've got to use your time charts in the proper fashion. So remove those. Right, so weekly euro pound looks to me ugly. Yeah, I don't like that at all. It looks very rangy to me, and I'm not. So all of this here just looks a bit rangy. Yeah, but again, it is the weekly chart. So in these candles here, there is definitely opportunities to buy and sell within that. But after weekly, there's nothing there that I potentially like the look of. I do see that we have created equal lows, or relatively equal lows here. No, they were just taken out. Look, they were just taken. Those lows were. But at the moment, what I do see is we are in a downtrend in the weekly. I do see this area of weekly imbalance that might be where price is trying to sell down to. Yeah, but there's not enough data for me on that particular time chart. What's the daily saying? See, again, the daily is very much in a range, something that just isn't really attractive to me. But what I do see, again, underneath that daily imbalance, that weekly imbalance, I do see a zone here that is interesting, because not only do we have a rally-based rally on a daily, so with these rally-based rallies, BECs and drop-based drops, the higher the time frame, the more powerful they are. Yeah, okay, that's the underlying thing. These are supply and demand candles from Enter the Matrix, from G Money and Marcus. Yeah, so we've got a rally-based rally, and we've got a BEC, and further across we've got a drop-based drop, all in an area of consolidation, yeah, or accumulation, or whatever phrase you want to put on it, before a push to the upside that broke structure here. Yeah. Yes. No. Okay. That's what you said, Dan. Yeah. So this to me is an area where price is going to be drawn to. Yeah. What does the cloud say? Absolutely, cloud agrees. Yeah. So what we're looking at in the cloud is we're expecting downwards movement, because price is underneath the cloud. The future cloud is red and pointing down. The orange line is under the blue line, which means to me that we are going to see these lows taken and this area mitigated and addressed. But again, it's too, there's no entry for those people that enter on a lower time frame. Yeah, 4 hours. Again, 4 hours is interesting because we're still under the cloud. We've taken, we've swept the high there. I would be cautious of this tiny little BEC there. Yeah, but it's not massive, so I don't think it will hold much weight. Does the 1 hour give a cleaner shot? Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Amanda, if I was going to sell EG, I'd be looking to sell it now. Obviously not now, but when at market open, yeah, I'd be looking for sells, probably market execute, to be fair. So from here down to our first area, stop loss above the range. Yeah, gives you a 25-ish pip stop loss. I'll be looking at something like that off a 15-minute entry. Maybe if it fills this imbalance, which is this orange box, you could take it down to the daily rally-based rally, which is the green area. So you've got somewhere between a 3 to 5% move, I think, on EG, but for me, it doesn't look attractive enough. Any questions on that, Amanda, or do you see anything different, or? Any questions from anybody else on that?
I muted you, Amanda, from before, so you might need to unmute.
Yeah. For me, it's too rangy, it's too sideways movement, and I don't see a clean enough entry that there's lots in the way of it getting down to that zone. For example, you've got these lows here. It can retrace. It can pull back from. What else have we got over here? Got to look left to get right. Yeah, all these lows. So it's not something I would get involved in personally, but that's just personal preference. That doesn't mean I'm right or wrong. Yeah. Plus, it's not a pair that I trade. Although I say I eat from every plate, EG is not one of them for whatever reason. Yeah. Mark, anything you want me to look at, mate, or anything you're looking at yourself?
Yeah, it's just US dollar and gold. But what else do you trade with, Dan? What other pairs do you look at?
Right. So
Main ones?
right. Can you see I've opened up my open up my pairs now?
Yes, I can see that. Yeah, yeah.
See all of those pairs, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because someone's going to pay me, mate. Someone's going to feed me. Yeah, I don't care who it is, but someone's going to feed me on a daily. And the reason I do this is, well, there's two trains of thought, isn't there? That you've got traders who say just learn one pair and learn it absolutely to the T,
Yeah.
which is great. Those traders still have backup pairs,
Right.
because
Okay.
if gold is in a range,
Yeah.
and just not moving, what are you going to do? Yeah. So the way I look at it a bit differently. Is I look at currency strength first. So when I start my day, I look at Forex Factory, see what news is coming up.
Yeah.
Then I look at currency strength, and I see what currency is high and what currency is low. And that's why I've got all these pairs here, because I might find that I might find the Aussie dollar strong, and I might find that the euro is weak on one day. So
Yeah.
or I might find the US dollar and the Canadian dollar are kind of the same. So I'm not going to bother trading those because there's no movement. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah.
So I use Mataf, MATAF.net.
What's that? Say that again, please, Dan.
So it's MAT, so Mike Alpha Tango, Alpha Foxtrot.net. The currency volatility or something like that is. I'll link to it in the Discord so you know exactly where I am. But basically, I look at the 4-hour charts on the major currencies and see what's trending up and what's trending the opposite way. Yeah, and those are the pairs that I'll trade on that day if there's a signal for me personally using the cloud. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So most people would trade Euro USD. It's the most highly traded asset in the markets, EU.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll have a look at this, whether or not it means anything to anybody. I haven't marked it up properly yet, to be fair. I was just marking up my charts when my brother knocked on the door, which is rude. Yeah. So this is the weekly outlook for EU. Yeah. So at the moment, I'm looking for shorts on the basis that we're at a weekly drop-based drop, which is there actually, that's been mitigated once, has fallen, failed to break the low, and is currently being mitigated again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my overall. Now, whilst we're currently in an uptrend for EU, yeah, the wider trend, the longer term trend, is clearly downwards. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So what I'd be looking for is see what happens at this. We'll drop down the time charts, but I'd be looking to see what happens at this day, this weekly drop-based drop, where we expect price to tag in and drop. Now, G-Money will tell you that drops and rallies can be mitigated several times. G-Money will typically get into a trade every time, and this is not me, this is him. Yeah, from conversations that we've had. He will normally get into a trade every time a rally or a drop is mitigated. He will re-enter. Yeah, and again, that's more prevalent the higher the time frame. There's a higher chance of it sticking the higher the time frame because it's that bit stronger. All right. So as yet, now the only caveat to that is if price breaks above this drop-based drop and closes above it, it's invalid. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So at the moment, that isn't the case. So we trade what we can see, and what we can see is it's traded into it and reacted in this zone. Yeah. It's traded into it again and it's reacted. I don't know. Let me try and remove these drawings so you can just see. Oh, not that one though. Blimey. Yeah. So let me zoom in a little bit. So as you can see, this, we tapped into it here, and we've just tapped into it on Monday. Yeah, so Monday's weekly candle tapped into it. So I'll be looking on the weekly basis for shorts at the moment. Let's drop down to the daily. Yeah. So this is the, so again, last week we had these highs taken. These were daily highs, daily equal highs that they were taken. So we broke those highs, tapped into the weekly drop-based drop. So what am I expecting? I'm expecting price to carry on downwards on the daily. We've already started making the drop on the 4 hour. Yeah. And how do I know that? Because we have a 4 hour breaker structure here. Yeah. Now, again, two trains of thought: breaker structures, body or wick, depends on who you are. Yeah. For me, if the liquidity has been taken, I count that as a breaker structure personally. Okay. Obviously, do your own back testing and see whether or not you agree and whether or not it works on the pair that you trade. So we're in a daily, a weekly value-based rally. We've taken out the previous daily highs. We had a massive downwards candle, bearish candle from a weekly area we expected a rejection. So on the 4 hour, I'm looking down. At this point, I'll turn on my best friend, turn the cloud on. Yeah. Now, again, you could get a bit, if you don't understand the cloud, you could get a bit, well, you know, it's showing us conflicting messages here, right? But what I see is we had a cross of the orange line and the blue line. So now the orange line is underneath the blue line. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see that price has had a big candle, this big one here, a big candle close underneath the orange line. Yeah. And a second big candle close underneath the orange line. So on the 4 hour, I've got sells on the 4 hour. But where would you be looking for? Well, the very first opportunity is this massive wick low. Yeah, that's going to be a very first target. Okay. And then again, here, I've already got it marked. You've got 4 hour imbalance here. You've got another 4 hour imbalance here. These are all areas that price has to go to at some point. Yeah?
Right. Okay.
So what I see happening, yeah, and this is just on the 4 hour, what I see happening is price breaking that low. Yeah, pulling back. This grey zone is my 4 hour Renko zone, by the way, which is my support and resistance. Yeah, so we'll break through that, come back and test it, feel the imbalance, and hopefully carry on down. Yeah, that's what I would expect from EU on the 4 hour, but I don't enter off the 4 hour because I haven't got that level of patience, to be fair. 1 hour tells a better story. We're under the cloud. We've had a nice run down. Future cloud is red. Lagging span is underneath the cloud. So for me, I would have to wait and see whether or not we hit this resistance area and go up, or if we can break under the resistance to take that liquidity to retest and then shoot down. That's, yeah. So I'd be waiting for that confirmation on the 1 hour first, and then I'd be looking at for me, a 5 minute entry to get in. Yeah. But for me, it's too close to this grey box, which is a 4 hour support resistance zone. So I wouldn't want to enter a short here in case it bounces off, and likewise, I wouldn't want to enter a long because, you know, we might break through the resistance. Yeah. So no trade for me on EU as yet until we get a reaction off this 4 hour resistance zone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's in the chat? Got to go now. Apologies all. Cheers, Amanda. Hope that was helpful. Good luck. Don't trade tomorrow. It's bank holiday. Yeah. So that's what I see for EU. Nikki, anything?
No, I completely agree, Dan. All good.
Yeah, and that's basically how I do what I do every time. Now, again, I don't necessarily. I look at one more pair that most people trade, but this is what I do every day. You know, you've got to start from the higher time frame. So I do this every Sunday. This is my Sunday, which is why this call works well for me because I'm doing it anyway.
Yeah, yeah,
I always do it on a Sunday. Check the weekly, check the daily. Kind of look for areas. You know, so what is happening? You know, where are we on the daily time frame? How did we close yesterday? You know, what you know, like these reactions. You know, I would probably so 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't think we will test this weekly base drop again. I think that's had its fill now. Yeah, we've closed underneath it every time, and that's 4 opportunities prices had to try and bust through. Yeah, I don't think right now we're gonna enter it again, especially not this week. So I see definitely sells. And again, now I've got the cloud on the daily, that just confirms it for me. You see how my Keegan line here, blue line, is flat. Yeah, it's flat and it's far from prices. Prices all up here. Yeah, and that's flattening out. That to me screams that if we get underneath this area of support and resistance there, I'm going to sell it. So I'm going to so just for illustration's sake, let me get rid of these. I'll start confusing myself, let alone everybody else. Yeah. So just for illustration's sake, if we can break underneath this area, where was it? Then I would try and sell it down to the 4-hour Keegan. Yeah. Being mindful that there is another grey area in the middle. So we would expect maybe something to bounce off, take that, bounce up, bounce, break under, test it, and finally hit the 4-hour Keegan. If you've got patience to sit in trades for that long, I don't. All right. I'll go across. I'll drop this in the Discord as well if anybody wants it. 2 secs. Make it look a bit prettier. It's got to be pretty. Move you out of the way. I'll look at one more. What does everybody else trade as well? I think my connection's a bit slow today as well, Nick. I think it might just be a thing.
Might
Easter,
be, yeah.
Easter holiday. What was that? EU.
I'm just gold myself, Dan.
Just what?
I'm just
gold.
gold. I'm trading gold at the moment. Yeah, I am looking into doing another pair though.
Yeah, it's one of those. Like I say, I'll just take anything. Like ironically, gold is the one that I don't trade.
yeah.
Gold, and that's only because I don't scalp it. So I take positions on it, and if you take positions on it, obviously if you're a scalper, you can kind of benefit, and you do benefit from that volatility. But my actual heart, the muscle, yeah, can't take scalping. I feel like it's going to explode. Yeah, I get sweaty palms, I have palpitations, I get my hair falls out, so I can't deal. And when I try to take positional gold trades, I'll either get wicked out by the smallest margin, or I won't get tagged in by the smallest margin. And sometimes you just think, do you know what? Let's leave it to the professionals. Yeah, let's leave it to the scalpers, the short-term traders. All right, one more then. Let's look at what's a nice easy pair. So for beginners, UChief USD Swiss franc. That's a nice easy pair for beginners because it's not an overly volatile pair. So for any beginners, I've got to be looking in on the recording. I'll move this now. What can we see on UChief? UChief. All right, let's take off the cloud. Okay. Right. Weekly USD Swiss franc. Downtrend. Yeah. At least in the most recent term. Okay. What's happened on the weekly? So we've had various breaks of structure. So we had this swing low that was taken there. We've had these swing lows that were taken by the body there. And we are currently, are we there yet? Is it there yet? Oh, just. We are currently at a weekly BEC. All right. So what do we think? For me, we've swept the liquidity there. We're a weekly BEC. Once we sweep liquidity, what happens? We expect a retracement. Yeah. Once we hit a BEC, and it's also a small area, although small it is on the weekly chart, small area of consolidation before price shot up. Yeah. So for me, it's a good zone that I'd be looking, and it's also a support and resistance zone going back as well. Yeah, so for me now, I'd be looking at longs, just based on the weekly, because we're quite a big wick off that zone. But again, we don't trade off the weekly. Daily, does the daily tell us a different story? Tells us kind of the same. We had these lows that have been taken, and that wick off the BEC. Look, it just tapped into it. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Just a minuscule tap in, yeah. And look at the rejection wick off it as well. Okay, beautiful. All right. So what does that tell us? Have we got any areas of interest on the daily? Well, yes, we have, and I'll tell you why. For two reasons. Let's say this was the recent swing low that was broken. Yeah, agreed. Okay, we've broken the swing low. If we were going to take it short, we'd look for an opportunity, and there's one screaming opportunity here, which is a zone of imbalance. Yeah. Now you could argue, again, I'm not going to say either way. This is not how I would do it, but you could argue that once price opens up tomorrow, taps into that zone, you could short it again to the BEC. That is an option. It's not one that I would take, because it's too much of a large position. Or you've got the base drop for it to fall back into as well. So just bear those two in mind for now, yeah? 4 hour tells us. What does the 4 hour tell us? 4 hour tells us we're also on a downtrend, yeah? We're in a zone of consolidation right now, which we would be, because, you know, Friday wasn't really a day. Tomorrow's not really a day, so we'll see. But we do have an opportunity to take it short on the 4 hour, which kind of changes things a little bit. So that 4 hour BEC, which is next to a last up candle before a big sell-off, the big sell-off that broke structure. Yeah, that's a strong zone. Yeah, that's a really strong zone. So I might expect the price to fill this imbalance, tap into that zone, and then drop into the BEC again. I think that's a good shot for a short from the 4 hour. Something like that. Yeah. Again, without getting too much into any smart money concepts or anything like that, it's a BEC, which is next to the last time there was a buying candle for a massive sell candle. This sell candle broke swing structure here. Yeah. So that's a 6 zone to get involved in. Too high a time frame for me. Can I get an entry somewhere else? Not on the 1 hour. What does the cloud say? Yeah, 1 hour says no, because although the price is in the cloud, we've not yet broken above it. You can just see the orange line is below the blue line. Future cloud is red. Yeah, so I don't see a trade there for now. Back up to the 4 hour second. No. No. And no. So for me, there's no trade yet. So I would want to do one of two things on this. I would want to see. I would set an alert for this imbalance area. I'm going to do it now. Yeah. I will then set an additional alert for this BEC area. Conversely, I would also set an alert at this area, because if price taps the daily BEC first, then I think this trade is still relevant, because you might just invert this. You might tap into this and then tap into that and then carry on it on its merry way. But I'd have to wait and see what happens first. We get paid to wait in trading, yeah. And that's it. That's it. Stanley, you've just joined us, mate. You okay? I didn't have you up because I was looking at my charts. If you want me to look at any charts, Stan, just drop it in the chat or unmute if your mic's working. If not, then I'm dropping these ideas into the Discord and anyway. I'll put both of these on and I'll drop this into the chat. So we could have a long from here. But really wouldn't really want that, to be fair. Or we could have a short. Yeah, this is probably the play I would go for. I'd go for this 4-hour play. Target that low there. So the 4-hour short gives you a 2-to-1. And if you could get a tighter stop loss on that daily BEC there, then I'd look at that for a long as well at a minimum 4-to-1 on that. All right. Let me copy the link and drop this. So USD chief. Oh. Okay. Well, obviously this has been recorded, mate, and I don't know how long you've been on the call for, but there's probably a good 40 minutes of me just wafting away, trying to say things simply, as simply as I can. But yeah, so that's what I see on USD chief for this coming week. Just bearing in mind that tomorrow I've got the news up on forexfactory.com/calendar. Yeah. Let me, in fact, why am I just being daft? Let me copy the link. Copy that to the chart. Trade chart. God, the internet is painfully slow, mate. Yeah. So looking at the news tomorrow, there isn't much. Yeah, unless you want to trade the Chinese currency, which I don't know anybody that trades the Chinese currency, to be fair. And if nobody's got any other pairs they want me to look at, then I'll stop sharing.
Do you look at cryptocurrency, Dan, just out of interest?
I do. I don't trade it.
Okay.
I look because again, it's I've once bitten, twice as shy, if you know what I mean,
yeah.
on that. And to be fair, I would only ever trade it over the weekend if I was bored.
Yeah.
And it's worth looking. Do you want me to check something, mate?
No, I'm just asking, just out of interest, if it's something that you look at in particular.
I have traded crypto in the past, but it's not something I focus on.
Right. Okay.
I know people that make a lot of money trading crypto, and the good thing about trading crypto is obviously you can monetize it when the value falls as well. Yeah.
Mm.
So I know people that made 6-7 figures during the crypto crash because they sold. They entered short positions on Bitcoin, for example.
Yeah.
Which is where buying, which is where being a crypto investor in the traditional sense of buying crypto and holding it and hoping for the best, and trading crypto are two very different things. But obviously that's where the crypto educators come into it way more than I do, because that's their bread and butter stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
It's worth if you're trying to back test, but you want live market conditions.
Mm,
Then I recommend crypto, and that's pretty much what I use it for. Like if I want to do some back testing, but I want to see price actually play out in front of me,
yeah.
rather than using the replay tool, then I'll use Ethereum pretty much, Ethereum USD,
Right. Okay.
just so I can forward test on a live market condition.
Brilliant.
You got no questions about TradingView itself or anything itself, no?
No. No.
No, you're okay with that, aren't you? Good stuff. Stan, if you have any questions, mate, on this, just drop it in the chat, yeah, in the Discord. Because you probably look at this and thinking, what on earth?
Mm.
Yeah, it looks like a child's colouring.
And
Pretty
don't worry,
cool.
Stan, we were all new at one point, so don't worry about that. What I've been doing as well is editing a video of some beginners classes. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to even attempt to upload them today because my internet is painful.
Right.
But tomorrow I will have a go at uploading it to YouTube. But a lot of what Dan's covered, like for instance, I mean, the terminology like drop-based drop and rally-based rally, supply BC, you're not going to understand straight off. So
No.
the beginners class I'm going to put in, it's got a bit of on G money on there. So that will explain a little bit. And then you can go back to, I think it was Jack, was he, that put you into the chat? So go back to Jack, and then if you wanted to get involved, then jump in on the Elevate classes, because that's where we've all learned.
Yeah, and to be fair, you've like if I looked at this, and I did look at this, Nikki, you remember when we first started looking at charts and was like, what on earth am I looking at? I remember when we first saw the Ichimoku cloud and we were like, what is that? What a mess. It made me want to be sick.
Yeah.
But I could look at that and I barely see it. Do you know what I mean? I can see what I need to see, and then it just kind of fades into the candles, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like my eyes focus on the candles, and then I kind of zoom out a little bit, and oh yeah, I'm under the cloud. I've got a tea cake. Everything's good. Yeah, crack on. Let's get involved. But yeah, it is overwhelming.
Yeah, it can be. And I mean, I think of it as a little bit like learning to drive. You know, when you first get in the car, you're like, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to do all of these things at once, like, you know, shifting gear and looking at my mirrors, checking everything. And then, you know, you probably drive now and it's second nature to you, and it will become like that. It's just literally being consistent with learning.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day, actually, how many things we do we don't think about.
Yeah, it's unconscious now.
Yeah, like those people that know multiple languages and they don't, like, you know, that don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Driving is a prime example. Even breathing. I mean, I'm getting a bit off topic, to be fair, but you know, the point is that it does become something that you don't. Obviously, you have to think, but it does become second nature at a glance. Bosh, job done. Thanks. I'll have a look into the video, and then it won't make sense, dude. To be fair, but yeah, no, that makes sense. If anything specifically doesn't make sense, and you think we're talking gibberish, do put it in the group. That's what we're there for. Yeah, we're there to kind of point people in the right direction, and this goes for not just new people to ATM. This goes to all people within the community. Whether they've got trading experience or not, you know, reach out. That's what we're here for. We're all here to kind of give each other a boost, aren't we? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'll stop sharing it if nobody's got anything else. Stop that.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was
all good. And fingers crossed this recording will have worked as well, so we can pop that in the group as well for anyone that's missed the beginning.
I believe I'm recording.
Okay, brilliant.
I believe, but we'll soon find out.
Yeah.
We'll soon find out. But yeah, if so, I'll drop it in the chat. But can I just say, anybody who does take any of the trades I've dropped in the chat, I expect 97% commission on. But I'm just saying, I think it's only fair. Giving up my time to give you ideas, I want all the money. Simple as that. Bosh. No, but real talk though, disclaimer. So at your own risk, do your own due diligence, manage your risk, all the normal stuff, yeah? It's not financial advice.
Thanks for that, Dan. That's quite useful tonight. That's really useful.
Good.
Yeah.
If for next week, and if for next week, obviously, like we said, it's Easter, it's bank holiday. People are doing the whole family thing. Clearly, we're more focused on trading.
Yeah.
I'm only joking. But if for next week, if anyone's got anything looking at that they want me to go at, or want to have a look at or forecast on, put them in the chat. Yeah, I'd rather look at pairs that people are actually looking at. And again, this is more to people who don't just trade gold, of course, like me. Yeah, drop it in the chat and we can have a look together. But obviously, we'll look at gold as well.
Yeah, I think I'll definitely be looking at another pair as well, in addition to what I'm looking at as well.
Look at AU.
AU.
Yeah, Australian dollar, US dollar. It's a correlating pair.
Okay.
Yeah. So if gold itself isn't moving, then or if gold's ranging, for example, then look at USD something.
USD
Look at a USD front loaded pair.
Okay.
Yeah, depends on what kind of appetite you've got. But if you're new or you don't want much risk on the table, USD Chief is a good pair. Yeah. That pair is actually ideal for beginner traders because there isn't much volatility. Or look at UJ, for example. UCAD's a nice one. USD CAD.
Okay. Yeah. Brilliant.
Cool. Nick, I'll hand it back to you to wrap up then.
Awesome. Thank
Cheers,
you
Dan.
so much, Dan. Absolute superstar. I learnt loads as well. So yeah, fantastic. And hopefully this has been recorded. Like I said, for those that are brand new, I'm going to be putting some beginners basic classes in the recording section of our ATM Discord. But yeah, over and out for today, and we will see you tomorrow on Mindset Monday.
Happy days. See you tomorrow, guys.
Cheers, guys. Thanks a lot. Much appreciated.
Stan, you too, Stan. Bye.